Welcome to What in the Smut podcast.
Where the books are horny, and so are we. I'm Elle.
And I'm Kay. Any hope that we could have 2 weeks in a row of decent Smutverse news?
No, absolutely not. The AI arms race is well underway. And the latest casualty was the Commonwealth Prize for the Caribbean. The short story selected as the winner quickly came under intense scrutiny for having the hallmarks of AI usage. Of course, somebody then fed it into an AI detection software, which returned a result of 100% AI. The prize has not been revoked. The judges are not making comments, and the magazine that published the story also fed it into Claude to see if it was written by AI, and Claude had no definitive answer for them. This is just the latest battle in the war of creative works that may or may not have been written using an LLM. And as far as I'm concerned, the war is already lost. It's over. It's over. We've already become paranoid where accusations may as well be a conviction and proof only comes in the form of more AI. And even if the work wasn't AI, it got fed into multiple models in the hopes of determining if it was AI, thus making it part of the corpus regardless. It's too late. It's too late. It's over, okay? We just now have to accept that some of the stories we read may or may not have been written using AI because neither you, nor I, nor the AI detection softwares will ever know for sure.
It's so frustrating because, it's okay, feed it into an AI detection software. Now you've fed it into the AI machine. So
And the AI detection software is like a lagging indicator, right? The LLMs learn based on new information, and every time you feed a story into it, it's going to be like, this is how humans write. This is the next token that I should return. Then we're back to the same arguments of all of the hallmarks of AI usage just used to be writing. That used to be writing. M dashes used to be part of writing. It can't have made it into AI. It can't be a part of AI if it weren't originally human written. That's just how this works.
Right.
And so it's so infuriating to watch all of literary devices become AI hallmarks. And then suddenly it's oh, who even knows anymore? Who even knows? Not me, not you, not AI detection software. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. And now the quickest way to destroy somebody's career, if you don't like them, is just be like, they use AI.
Yeah.
And there's no way to prove it.
There's no way to prove it. There's no way to disprove it. There's no way to, somebody needs to have a full-on army behind them.
Yeah.
If they get that allegation in order for them to keep their head above water.
We're gonna get to the point where authors are going to just be in gaming, they're every single accusation of cheating in esports, for example, results in new ways to attempt to combat that. Combat the allegations and also prevent it from happening. So you end up with gamers having top-down cameras, live feeds of their keyboards and their mice so that you can see what keys they're pressing and it's synced up with the gameplay and you can know they're pressing the button that does the thing, therefore they can't be cheating. All kinds of things where they are live streaming. So it can't possibly be pre-recorded and cut together and spliced and all of that. It becomes you have an entire apparatus behind making sure that people aren't cheating. And I feel like we're going to end up seeing that for authors. People are going to have a fucking setup with a camera behind them where you can see their fingers and you can see the screen and you can see them type their first and third and 50th draft. This is insane.
Yeah. It's it's wild. And then we've got people that are leaning into it,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Barnes& and Noble news coming out.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, Barnes& and Noble has their CEO has said that he will stock the shelves with AI written books.
What?
Yeah, and then there's, like, Bumble saying that they're
Oh
getting
my
away
God.
with the swiping feature so that you can have an AI bot
Your
match you,
AI will talk to their AI to see
which,
if you're
like,
compatible. I've
is
never heard anything
insane.
more dystopian in my entire fucking
We
life.
are all going to end up like the people in Wall-E that are just
So right.
sitting in seats with a screen in front of our faces. I mean, we're halfway there already, but, like, to take away the human element of dating
It's-
is
That's
wild.
fucking wild.
Absolutely insane.
Uh,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's, dystopian is a word for it.
yeah. Now, let's try to escape our existential dread and stick our head in the clouds. And maybe some other body parts. Okay?
So this week we read Cirrus About You by Latrexa Nova, which is part of the Ghostlight Falls series. And the synopsis says, I never thought the word cumulonimbus would make me blush until I ended up with my head in the clouds. Ghostlight Falls is full of strange mysteries and countless oddities, but to everyone who lives here, that's the norm. When I started my podcast interviewing the locals, I never expected it to become a niche internet sensation. It was more of a hobby than anything. But now people are posting fan theories trying to figure out where the storyline is going because the rest of the world doesn't seem to realize it's all real. After interviewing the mysterious rainbow cloud that hangs over my family's drive-in theater every night we have a movie playing, the listeners have been sending in fan art of me and the cloud. I'm demisexual. Dating the weather wasn't even a possibility to me when I interviewed the cloud, or Cirrus as I've taken to calling it. So what if after years of hovering and long chats about cinema deep into the night to make me feel like I'm cloud nine, no, our relationship is friendship at most, and I don't even know how we could be anything more even without serious intangibility clouding the issue.
There was a lot going on in this story.
Yeah.
And I, would- I like this synopsis. I
Uh-huh.
like this story that this synopsis advertises.
Hmm.
I feel like we got way too much that clouded the issue, if you will. But before we get into that, where would you put this one on our smut scale?
This is like a 1, if that.
Agreed. Agreed. Mhm.
Um, it's funny because I don't know if I pulled this one, but I did. So there were in some of the reviews, people saying like, I went into this thinking it was gonna be something smutty, and
Mhm.
it's sweet, but it's certainly not smutty.
No, no, it's not smutty. I mean, like, our main character does come
Yes.
once,
Mhm.
and that's it. There's
Yeah.
no penetration. It's, uh, it's very sweet.
Yes. It is a very
Friends
sweet
to
book.
lovers.
Yes. Um, I mean, that being said, are there any triggers in here? Heights?
Heights, parents being in a cult,
Yeah. Um
which you would not get from the synopsis. the 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 cult is a very prominent through line.
Yes.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know that there were any other triggers.
Um, being an adult and still not quite finding your place in the
Yep,
world.
mood. Mhm. That
Still
that
trying to
could be
being an
triggering.
adult and still trying to figure out what you wanna do when you grow up.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
So, this had a 3.8 on Amazon, a 3.7 on Goodreads. A 5-star says, "The world needs this story." back in Ghostlight Falls, and can I just move here for good? This was absolutely an amazing read. Latrexa Nova has created a beautiful love story that the world needs here. Ripley is a young filmmaker recently returned home to Ghostlight Falls. Their parents, mostly absentee, have gotten too into the frog cult. They start a podcast interviewing members of the community, and it unexpectedly blows up in popularity. And then they interview their lifelong bestie, Cirrus. The interview leads to some brief background on Cirrus' origin story, and finally, they acknowledge their feelings for each other. Best part? Imagine a town where everyone fights back to protect members of their community. More of this in the real world, please. Which was
That's
very
fair.
nice.
Yeah.
A 4-star says warm fuzzies from a cloud. Yes, please. This was cute. Getting the warm and fuzzies from a cloud. Who'da thunk? I have some questions, but I think it's okay just to leave it to the imagination.
That is a person who reads a lot of sentient object romance, and I respect it. A 4-star on Goodreads says, one adorably oblivious but cute human, a rainbow cloud that may or may not be flirty, and a town that's cheering them on? Yes, please. Cirrus and Ripley are effortlessly charming, funny, and just a little ridiculous. Watching them navigate friendship, feelings, and chaos in Ghostlight Falls was pure delight. This was just so cozy, playful, and full of heart. And a 2-star on Goodreads. Am I a little bit embarrassed to say that I expected more cloud fucking? Yeah, but I definitely did, and I feel like I was disappointed. Same?
Yeah.
Same?
Mm-hmm.
Latrexa Nova books are known for being super unserious and smutty, and I'm not sure this book really mastered either one of those that I'm used to from them. It is about this person who goes home to visit/stay and ends up finally admitting that they have feelings for their cloud best friend. When I read the content warnings, there are a lot of little smutty content warnings, but there's very little itty bitty smutty content in this book. Like literally one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I had known that it wasn't going to be as explicit as I expected, I wouldn't have minded. The expectation was there, and therefore there was disappointment. I actually did like the two main characters, and I like the non-binary representation, but wasn't super impressed with this one.
I mean, it's
I feel it.
a fair review.
I agree. And like we've read and enjoyed Latrexa Nova before with the Home for the Gobble days,
Yes.
which was very unserious and very smutty.
Very smutty. Yes.
And that was such a ride in so many ways. This one I feel like it lacked a clear identity, I fear.
Yes.
And they say there are content warnings. I don't remember
There is.
seeing
Yes.
content notes. Oh, yes.
References to and casual cannabis use, vintage anti-marijuana videos, helicopter crash, no injuries, neglectful parents in a cult, gore portrayed in a comical way, military-led attempted kidnapping of one of the MCs, which was unsuccessful, and sexual content includes being completely enveloped in a lover, electro play. Oh, that's a good point.
Electro play. I forgot about that.
Science lessons as dirty talk, oral and shape changing to have multiple body parts. That is a misrepresentation. It makes you think you're gonna get more than you get.
Yeah. Yes. The shape changing was just to have a face.
Yeah. I want more of a shape change.
Yes. Yes.
Well, as always, we are going to fully get into this. There will be spoilers, full breakdown of the plot. There is a lot of plot in this one.
That's true.
So if you would like to give Latrexa Nova their page reads, the link for this one will be in our show notes. Are you ready to get into it?
I'm so ready. Let's get into it, because what was interesting about this is that we are going to get a lot of film references. But for some reason, like, I don't know, like 10 pages in, we're going to also start to get footnotes.
Yes. Did you click on any of the footnotes as you were reading? Yeah, me too. And some of them are just like, if you know, kind of footnotes.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that is actually like, is one of them.
Yes, I
It
think
just
so.
says,
Yeah. Yes. Um, but I didn't catch on that we were getting film references for a while. Because we start with chapter 1, which is titled "We'll Always Have Paris," which I completely skipped over. And this is Ghostlight Falls 2012.
Yes, there is a bit of timeline jumping in this story.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Which is fine.
Mhm.
I don't mind the timeline jump. Personal
I
preference, though.
have I have some issues. I don't mind a timeline jump if it serves the purpose.
Okay.
And I feel like this one did not really serve a purpose.
Okay.
So we're starting from Ripley's perspective, and Ripley is thinking to themselves, how do you tell the cloud you've been hanging out with nearly every day goodbye? And it's not like this. Hey, so I've got to get going. My flight's in 4 hours, and I still have to drive into the city, and I've never flown on a plane before, and everyone says I should get there 2 hours early, so I'm going to get there 3 hours before just to make sure.
This is me.
Me too. A big old mood. I've never identified with a character more.
And I need to check and make sure that the gate exists before I
Yes, I
go
have
get
to
my
walk
coffee.
to the gate. I've actually graduated to not checking that the gate
Mm.
exists
Well,
before
I
I go.
didn't do that one time and it bit me in the ass. So
Oh, no.
I tried to do that
I'm gonna
and then
regress.
I ended up having to be in a different terminal 15 minutes before. So, yeah.
Well, you can
It's-
just check the board. You don't necessarily need to walk all the way to the gate.
I know, but yeah, no, I tried it. It bit me in the ass. I won't go back.
You know what? Fair. Fair. The cloud just says, "Oh." And Ripley's thinking about how they're worried about getting through security, and so they've dressed down. All of these things are reasonable. I have no problems with this.
But I feel like we don't ever get any information about, like, okay, dress down, but what do they normally dress as?
True. Correct.
It's
And like,
almost like we weren't privy to the picture of this character that
mhm,
Latrexa Nova had in their head.
yes, I think that's right because like we're getting a I don't know, like we're getting so much like oh farewell, oh blah blah. Like this maybe could have been a prologue
Mm,
to serve the purpose of I haven't seen the cloud in 10 years,
yeah.
which also isn't true. Like
Right. Because we do get like a 2016, I think, return.
something like that. And like Ripley visits in the fall. Ripley visits in the fall, says hi to the cloud. Like it's not like they've been gone for 10 years.
Yeah.
But uh, they are like we're getting enough here like little bits about how their relationship works where um the cloud has an electromagnetic field that tends to like short out electronics, so Ripley keeps their phone away
Hmm.
um like at a distance. The cloud changes colors, they're mostly rainbow, but sometimes they cycle between colors with their mood. Um and there's just like a long kind of conversation here about Ripley is leaving. And then we also get the first nod to the frogs,
Yeah.
which is
I read it and
so
I was
much.
like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
I was
I
like,
can't
this
just
one,
sit around and let the frogs control my life like my parents.
see, I clocked it as I don't own a lot of t-shirts. This one I got at Ghostlight Falls Infamous Frog Museum gift shop.
True.
Which what?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that must just show up in another book. I feel like a lot of these, because we do get some mention of
Yes.
Ramsey
Yeah, we do.
from
Romance by the Rat.
yep. So I think that Latrexa Nova really tried to include as many of the little kind of Easter eggs.
Yeah. But
But
they
in
ended up being more than Easter eggs. Like, they tend to
yeah,
dominate the story quite a bit.
yeah.
This is so, like, the other thing is that I was very confused because I
Mhm.
didn't know that spadefoot was a type of frog or a toad.
Yeah.
Unclear. Because the word gets used interchangeably. And go on.
Strangely enough, I
Uh-huh.
did just how does this happen to me all the time?
I mean, you get Instagram reels of frog orgies, so I figured this was gonna be right up your alley.
Interesting way to throw me under the bus there.
You've talked about it
So
on this podcast before,
I
to be
have,
fair.
I have. Um, I had seen something. I get so many animal facts. There's one person that does, I think her handle is Sarah Makes Me Laugh, and
Okay.
she does a lot of videos about animals, and there's some things that I'm like, "Oh, I already knew that," because my For You page is, like, seriously messed up. So, I had seen something that, like, frog and toad are kind of interchangeable. That, like, toads, typically people think of them being, like, the dry ones, but
Mhm.
there's, like, some frogs
That
now I
are
need to
dry.
now I need to look it up because
Well, while you look that up, I'm gonna tell the listeners that apparently, Ripley's parents run a drive-in movie theater, and those spadefoot orgies run out most of the business. It can really only operate during one season of the year.
I have information.
Go on.
All this is kinda like the square and rectangle thing.
Ah,
Toads and frogs both belong to the same amphibian group, Anura, meaning all toads are technically frogs, but not all frogs are toads.
I see. Okay.
The
Okay.
world needed to know that.
It it did. It's true. It's true. So Ripley calls the cloud Cirrus,
Mhm.
which does not end up sticking as the cloud's name at this point in time for no
Right.
apparent reason. Apparently, when Ripley was a child, they cycled through different names for the cloud.
Cloudy was one of them.
Cloudy was one of them. Um, but they're having a moment,
Mhm.
and Ripley's watch beeps and they say, "I'm sorry, I really have to go." And the cloud asks for hugs, which apparently they've never hugged before.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
Why would you have hugged a cloud?
yes. So they attempt this hug.
Mhm.
Um and Ripley um describes the sensation and thinks that I've always wondered what it would feel like. It doesn't feel like cotton. It feels encompassing. They surround me. I'm not sure what my arms are doing in this hug, but as I try to close them, I feel the resistance of soft dew, like mist, but more. My arm hairs tickle with static electricity. Like, this is a fabulous description.
Yes, it really is. And there's a couple more like that too, where I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that's some really great writing.
Yes. Yes. I actually really loved the descriptions of interacting with Cirrus, with
Mhm.
like how the cloud absorbs moisture, and
Yep.
so like it kind of causes a little bit of static electricity, and it's very creative and I really enjoy it.
It was
That's I
very
wanted
that
more.
those interactions between the two of them were so well thought out.
Yes.
And yes, I agree. I wanted more interactions of the spicy variety.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. So then we jump to present day. We don't
Mhm.
know. I guess it's 2022 because I do believe we get that it's been 10 years since Ripley moved to LA. to try to make it in the film business, but we're I don't understand because like Ripley moved away
Mhm.
to try to make it in the film business in LA.
Yes. Yep.
They'd been making reels. They decided they didn't want to do it on their own. They moved to LA and it didn't work out, apparently. That's fine. We don't need all of the details right up front.
Right.
But we now are in present day, the next chapter, and apparently it didn't work out because Ripley is back in Ghostlight Falls and they are interviewing Loretta McGinnis, who is a ghoul
Yep.
who lives in Ghostlight Falls. And Ripley's like, it's so interesting to interview the locals. That's like why I'm interviewing Loretta. There's no place on earth as strange and fascinating as Ghostlight Falls. Maybe these interviews just become a cute little thing to share with my fellow locals, but it feels important to hear their stories. But like, we're not going to get in this entire chapter that Ripley's doing this because they started a podcast.
Yeah.
There's
We just
no
get the
explanation.
interviews. There's no what's happening with the interviews.
Right. Like, why? Why? Like,
Yeah.
sure, okay, maybe the interviews do become like a cute little thing to share with fellow locals, but like, why were you doing it to begin with? Like,
Right.
it doesn't make any sense because at this point, Ripley already has like a few listeners who are obsessed, like, and think that this is like, they think that this is like Welcome to Night Vale. Like, did you ever?
No.
Welcome to Night Vale was a huge internet sensation, mostly on Tumblr in like 2012, 2013 era, I want to say. Like
Okay.
one of like the early podcasts, kind of like on the heels of Serial, which was like the first like big podcast.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
remember that one.
yeah, but like Welcome to Night Vale was the first one that did it kind of like a fiction episodic kind of tale, where it's
Okay.
very similar to this, where it's like, this is a fictional town that's very weird. And like you get basically it's like almost like a news station. It's like a radio station in a
I
weird fictional
vaguely
town.
remember this.
Yeah. And so Welcome to Night Vale got very, very big and people made a lot of fan art about it. It was like a big internet sensation. And so like I feel like leaning into it didn't work out in LA,
Mhm.
but I started this podcast and, you know, like this is starting to actually take off. And like, I think this is a great, or I have this idea for a podcast or something. Like we're going to get some weird time skips here where like months go by. So it's
Yeah.
possible that like this is the very beginning of the podcast, but I don't know. And
Right.
it's because it's not well described.
Yeah. So, also, I question if Loretta McGinnis is a character from one of the other books, which, like, I love how these potlucks slash group projects have come to be something that's very popular.
Yes.
And I love that they can be kind of interconnected. Like we
Hmm.
had talked with Alex Labriere, and one of her characters
Yes.
she wrote into her story where the it was very much another book in that same
Yes. A parallel
potluck.
story written by a different author.
Yes. So like I love this, but also it makes me ask too many questions, which
Oh,
then
yeah.
take me out of the story that I'm actually reading.
I agree. Like, I feel like the mention of Ramsey,
Mhm.
which we're going to get later, which we don't get by name, is a
Right.
much better Easter egg
Yes.
because Ripley says, oh, like, there had been a waiter at Ratcliffe's who didn't want to be interviewed because of their connection
Right.
to the military base or whatever. Like, that's a good one because, like, it's relevant
Yeah.
to the story that we're telling right now,
Yeah.
but it's not like, oh, I need to know that guy's story to like feel like I understand what's happening right here.
Right.
And for this, like, we're going to spend a whole chapter at the Half House, which is maintained by Loretta the Ghoul, whose
Yeah.
brother blew himself up and took out himself and half the house, but he got better, quote unquote, and is in the walls somehow and is kind of the house itself. And Loretta has a bad memory and has built 4 different kitchens, and there are stairs everywhere. And so it's kind of like become an attraction where Loretta has to like give tours, but you can't get out unless you take a tour.
I feel like this chapter was similar to when I see a random Instagram story and need to talk about it, but I don't have all the details.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So like the interview kind of goes sideways because Loretta's brother Casper, who's in the walls or something, is teasing her.
Yeah.
And that pisses Loretta off, and she starts to get all creepy and crazy. I don't know how ghouls work. And Ripley runs away and tries to get out, but can't because it's a maze. And
Yeah.
so Ripley ends up on the roof
Yes.
and runs into the cloud. And the cloud, it says Ripley is surprised to see the cloud. The cloud, Cirrus, has only ever appeared above the drive-in my family operates, at our spot on the hill, hovering over the baseball stadium, or just outside the hospital where Old Man Winkle is shacked up for eternity. Never so close to the Wonder Hole. Like,
What's
there's
the
so
wonder
much
hole?
going on here. We never get an explanation for what the Wonder Hole is. Old Man Winkle is apparently Ripley's grandfather, but we don't know that. Like,
Yeah.
why is he shacked up in the hospital for eternity? Also, it seems like the cloud is in many places. So
Yeah.
I don't see why why it's surprising that the cloud would be here.
We did get, and it's at the beginning of each of the books, a map of the town.
Oh,
So we
that's
do
true.
get a map, but also, like, maybe it's because I'm reading this on my Kindle. It's hard when I
Yeah.
like to be able to flip back
To
to
flip
something
back
like
to the
that and
map.
be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, no, that's where this is." I like to be able to visually place it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the cloud accuses you didn't come back. And Ripley's confused because they're making it sound like I never go back to the drive-in to visit them, but I always try to. Sometimes I only have time for Old Man Winkle, and since this time is more permanent, I couldn't go back, not to live there, especially after our last argument before I flew in. And this is not an argument between the cloud and Ripley, which is what I
Right.
thought it was at first, which I was like, wait, I thought the cloud couldn't communicate via modern devices. And no, the next line is, no, I got into a fight with my parents, which, like, okay, then that's why they didn't go back to the drive-in or the
Yeah.
drive-in. Um, and then we don't ever get an argument. We don't ever get a description of the argument. The frogs are getting louder. A bad feeling twists in my stomach, and I walk to the edge of the safe roof area until I'm climbing on the uneven edges so I can peer into the wonder hole. Screams echo through the hole as the tourists try to fight the tide of frogs hopping their way. At the bottom of the hole is a group holding up a very familiar frog statue. I scan them until I find my mom and dad clustered at the center of the cult, and there it is.
And then we get, is this the frog orgy?
Like, what? So the cloud says, well, it's good to see you after all this time. And Ripley means to say you too, and instead says, oh gods, why are you pink? And then we switch to Cirrus for chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
And chapter 3 is titled Open the Pod Bay Doors, which doesn't make any sense because that's a 2001 A Space Odyssey reference about an AI going crazy and trying to kill the astronauts on board the ship. Uh, Why is that relevant to this chapter? I don't know.
Is it do we get footnotes yet?
Not yet.
I'm just confused. We also get that the cloud is like, "I'm what?"
Hmm.
And Ripley says pink. Now, this would be my nightmare to
Yes.
have myself change color depending on my mood
Yes.
because that's essentially what happens. Like,
Yes.
Cirrus kind of goes between rainbow, sometimes gray, sometimes pink, sometimes like a sunset if they're
Hmm.
feeling a little bit spicy.
Hmm.
And I already have to tell myself to fix my face like a lot. Yeah. I have to
You
tell
know
you.
this. You have to tell me to fix my face. It's still one of my favorite memories. Fix your face.
So yeah, this would be like my nightmare to
Yes.
have just my what I'm feeling broadcast to
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
around me.
I completely agree. But yeah. And so Cirrus says, I'm not sure what exactly caused it, except that something about Ripley feels different now. Uh, and like, it really is that the cloud has romantic feelings for Ripley. And
Yes,
every
almost
time
like
they,
blushing.
yeah, yes, precisely. But they tell Ripley that they don't know why they're pink. Ripley's packing up their recorder and then says, I'm going to see Old Man Winkle after this. Do you want to come? Loretta comes up finally, finishing her tantrum with her brother and leads Ripley out of the house.
Yes.
And it appears that she has a little bit of a crush on Old Man Winkle. This is where we find out that Old Man Winkle is Ripley's grandfather.
Yes.
And then Ripley says, I'll meet you at the hospital to the cloud. And the cloud nods, bopping up and down, and says, break a leg. And this is where we get our first footnote.
Which it's not actually the first footnote because when you click on that, there were two footnotes in
Oh,
um and the footnotes are all film jokes.
yes.
So in chapter 2, there was a Star Wars footnote and a Monty Python footnote.
Oh, you're right. There was. Where?
Um
Oh, here it is. It's in a, yeah. Yeah. So we started getting footnotes in chapter 2 that
mhm.
are film jokes. And
Which
sometimes they don't make any sense.
yeah.
And that's fine. I guess like the point was kind of supposed to be that Ripley and Cirrus got to know each other by watching movies together at the drive-in.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's kind of like their foundation.
Mhm.
So the cloud beats Ripley to the hospital where we meet Old Man Winkle, who is a staple in the hospital. He woke up against a tree a long time ago and got carted across the country to get taken care of by some specialists who deal with time displacement effects
Is that a is that like a Rip Van Winkle thing that we don't
that we don't know. But Ripley is Rip Van Winkle.
well, so is this guy.
I don't know.
It says
Maybe.
it does say his name. Um, yeah. So Rip Van Winkle, the folktale, follows a good-natured but notoriously lazy villager in the Catskills who escapes his nagging wife by wandering into the woods. He encounters mysterious men playing ninepins, drinks their liquor, and falls asleep for 20 years, waking up
Oh,
after the American Revolution.
okay. Sure. All right. So that's a little bit of lore that I missed. Okay. And then um Old Man Winkle found love with his new husband, who is a shifter who survived the time displacement, right by his side. The Cloud has a conversation with Old Man Winkle, who is man yells at Cloud in a nutshell. I love it. Old Man Winkle is just like a crotchety old man who's like, the government's coming for the weather. Like, and it's, I love it. It's hilarious. It works. And Old Man Winkle and Wolf are fine. I think they have a good dynamic. I didn't need as much of them as was here, but it's fine.
It was a decent side character addition.
Yeah.
For sure. Like,
Yes.
enough to, towards the end, give it a little bit more of a robust, like, how things end, which is wild. And
Yeah.
so yeah, sure.
The Cloud interrupts Old Man Winkle and Wolf, who are kind of bickering in like old married couple fashion, which is cute.
Yep.
And asks how long has Ripley been back? And neither Old Man Winkle nor Wolf seem willing to answer that question.
This is very much like like small town rom-com kind of, like,
Oh yeah.
let me ask the grandfather that I run into every now and then. So like, hey, how long have they been back in? It was very like Sweet Home Alabama.
Very much so. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But then the nurse says, didn't Ripley get back a week ago? And the Cloud is upset that Ripley's been home for a week and hasn't come to say hello to them.
I get it.
I also get it. A week. And you basically moved back like permanently
and started working.
Like, and you haven't come by and been like, hey, best friend from my entire childhood, like I'm back in town. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, so Wolf and Old Man Winkle are kind of like, listen, you know how it is with the frog cult. They didn't want to go back home. And the Cloud's like, yeah, they did say they got into another fight with their parents. Like, it's not about me, but like, it kind of feels like it's about me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're getting some more bickering between Wolf and Old Man Winkle. And Wolf calls him childish. He's like a toddler, always in need of a nap. He even needs to be burped sometimes. And Old Man Winkle says, if anyone here acts childish, it's you, Wolf. I'll take you over my knee and see how you like it. And Wolf goes, I would like it, actually.
I like that a lot.
Which was like, okay. I was like, okay, nice. We're going to get some kind of something, and we really don't.
Yeah. But they basically refuse to give the Cloud any additional information about Ripley and tell the Cloud
I can appreciate because they're protecting their family member. Like, I don't want to cause any issues for them.
Yes.
You can handle it yourselves.
You can talk to each other like adults because apparently they're both in their 30s. And Old Man Winkle says, you lovebirds can talk it out yourselves. And the Cloud says, lovebirds, Ripley and I are just friends. And Old Man Winkle replies, and I'm the Queen of England, which I adore. I love that. I love that everybody knows but us kind of vibe as well. That's such a small town thing.
Yeah, I agree. So then we get Ripley at home waiting for their parents to come back from the frog orgy, which keeps being discussed. And the mom says, hello, Tadpole Ripley. Like, okay.
Sure.
This is cultish behavior, sure.
Yeah.
And they say, hello, mother. What the fuck?
And then their parents are like, try to change the subject, I guess. And Ripley says, Mom, Dad, the fuck did you do to the frog orgy? And they basically moved the frog orgy because it needed a more ceremonial locale. We can't
Mhm.
expect the exalted ones to copulate in the lake like your run of the mill toads.
Which also we get that, like, wherever this big toad statue goes is
Yeah.
where the frog orgy goes.
Yes. That's true. That's true. Um and then they continue, besides, it's a win-win. Now we can keep the drive-in open longer. So Ripley is like, "Are you telling me you changed the natural mating habits of an entire species and fucked with the biome of the lake just so you can keep your business open longer?" Like, it's very, very confusing because the frog cult
Yeah.
thinks of the frogs as the exalted, but they're
Mhm.
actually just frogs. So Ripley is arguing about whether this is ethical, and their parents are just unreasonable, really. And they're like, "We just think you'd be happier if you really understood the joy of their glorious roundness."
So then they're like, "We'd love to have you come back here. We've left your room just as you left it 10 years ago or whatnot." Well, almost. So they bring Ripley back to their room,
Hmm.
and we get that there's posters, the same posters that were up when they left, still on the walls, except now all of the faces of the celebrities have been covered with frog faces.
Hmm.
And there's figurines that had all been there, but now a frog head has been fashioned to fit over all of them.
Hmm.
And everything has been turned into a frog version of what it was before,
Yes.
which is a hilarious addition.
Oh, yeah.
And like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If they are all in with this cult, that would happen.
That tracks. And like the idea of like moving away and like your parents keeping your bedroom and all of that. It's like there are some pieces here that I really liked.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously Ripley does not appreciate the new froggy touches to their bedroom
No.
and is like, "Yeah, great talk. I'm going to be in town for a while, but I'm renting a place out. So you can turn this into the Spadefoot shrine you've always wanted." And they're living above the bookstore, I think now. And they're like, "We really need to get the Spadefoot orgy out of the Wonder Hole. It's not safe for them down there." Um, and then their mom says, "Before you go, could you return the exalted one to his rightful place?" And Ripley says, "How did you get him down?"
And
And
the
they were
exalted one is that giant frog
statue.
statue.
Yes. Um, and they say the cloud helped out, but we did have to replace the projector since the electricity shorted the circuits. And like, I don't understand. Was the projector inside of the Exalted One statue?
Yes, which is
Okay.
wild because now this statue needs to get back up on a podium. But
Hmm.
we also got some information of Ripley being like feet hanging out of the. So please tell me how someone is going to lift this seemingly like 8-foot frog statue
I don't know how big it
onto
is.
a podium, but like big enough for them to fit inside of the mouth of it to get to the projector, which is where it's projecting out of the mouth of this frog statue.
Right. It says restoring a statue over the projector 20 feet in the air.
Crazy.
Insane.
But
So,
also, it doesn't make sense because they ask, like, where is the statue? And they're chastised and they say, sorry, his slimy greatness. Where is he? And the mother says still in the car. So like Is this statue giant enough?
How big is it? I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
understand, but sure.
Eh,
So we get a flashback
yes.
to 2008.
Yeah, which is before we started.
Yes. So this is 2 years before Ripley leaves.
No,
And
4 years before.
oh,
So,
4 years before Ripley leaves,
they are
right?
16 years old
Yeah. Mhm.
fixing this projector 20 feet up in the air,
Mhm.
and we get a Braveheart reference, which, um,
I don't
oh,
know.
in Braveheart, the Scottish soldiers moon the British before fighting. I did forget about that. That is a good movie.
Yes.
That's one of my dad's favorite movies of all time. So, Ripley gets surprised by the cloud popping up and saying, I see how this was much easier in a kilt, which doesn't really make sense because they're not mooning everyone. But okay. Yeah, so it's like I laugh and accidentally hit my head on the upper lip of the spade foot, my head echoing with the impact as I dropped the screwdriver from my hand. This was the first time we get information that the cloud can change and have a face.
Mhm. That's true.
And this was the first time that we get like a moment where time stops and everything
Uh-huh.
disappears around them kind of thing.
Yeah. Which is cute. A,
Um
s- a moment between 16-year-olds, I suppose.
yes, we get humans are like 60% water and clouds are like 0.00001%. I can know cool science things too sometimes. And Cirrus says, if humans are so watery, why doesn't any come out when I squeeze you? There is a lot of like almost born yesterday kind of comments from the cloud, which
Mhm.
sort of makes sense if everything they learned was from
Movies.
movies.
Yeah.
But also, they are seeing enough of the town
Yes. They
to
talk to people.
they talk to people, they help people out with things. They're seeing and observing enough
Mhm.
after
30
so many
years.
years that,
Yes.
like, it doesn't make sense, some of the things that they don't understand or the phrases that they mess up.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the cloud, speaking of, the cloud refers to what Ripley is doing as playing tonsil hockey with the great ponderer, which is hilarious.
Ponder, like,
Pond, like pond, a frog sits in a
yeah,
pond and
yep.
he's also pondering. Yeah, I think it's great.
I got stuck on the tonsil hockey because
Yeah.
Ripley's like, "That's not what this means," but, like, if your whole head is inside of the like, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the cloud says that too. You've got a stick, and if this was a real frog, its tonsils would be back there. But of course, tonsil hockey means making out with someone, and
But
so
see,
Ripley
I
has to
saw
explain that.
that as Ripley was headfirst inside of this frog.
Yes, they
So,
are.
like, not
But
the
they're not making
hockey.
out with the frog.
Well, I know, but, like, if you were to come up from behind them and they're like, I don't know. It made sense to me. I was like, "Okay, well, that could be easily misinterpreted."
But the cloud doesn't know what tonsil hockey actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. But then we get it's just a euphemism for kissing. Blech.
Uh-huh.
So this is where, like, when you like somebody and you start to be mean to them
Yeah. Yes.
because Cirrus says, "My silver lining," and Ripley says, "Ew, what kind of pun was that?" And Cirrus goes, "What do you mean, ew? You've been so weird about my jokes all year."
Mhm.
And they say, "Well, your jokes have been so weird all year." This is 16 years old. I like somebody. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to be mean to them instead.
Yes. Absolutely. Yep. And they are upset and Ripley says, "If you're gonna be like that, then leave. You're gonna wipe the film like last time." And Cloud kind of gets all grumpy and just like it seems like they kind of just like go away.
Yeah.
And then Ripley is so annoyed that they accidentally pull all the tape out and rip the film and are in a bad mood, and then they pick up a rock and throw it into the water, and a mermaid screams back, "Hey, what gives?" Which is funny, but then like we get nothing more on that front.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're gonna
Um,
skip back in time or
back
back
to present
forward
day.
in time to
Yep.
present day. And the cloud says that's no moon.
Which
And
is a Star Wars joke. It says, or a Star Wars references. The footnote says Star Wars, but you knew that. I did
yes.
not know that.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
So then we get like why they're back. And basically, it's that they had moved out to LA. They wanted to do films.
Mhm.
But where you make the money off of films is making stories about, where did it say this? An extra to the stories of people who have had their tales told a million times. Beautiful, thin, cis, and white, which is
Mhm.
crazy. It's so diverse down there, but they're still telling the same stories over and over. So basically, like, I enjoyed making indie
Mhm.
films and whatnot, but there's no money in that. And
Right.
everyone's afraid to make those types of stories big,
Yeah. Yep.
which, damn.
True.
Yeah.
Upsetting. And it turns out that Ripley racked up a crap ton of debt by living down there. So they're here and they got a job at the video store and they're going to be bussing tables at Ratcliffe's and they might get a job at Kyle's too. I don't know what Kyle's is.
Nope.
And then the cloud says, "But when are you going to do your creative stuff?" And Ripley says, "I mean, I've got the podcast. It's kind of the only thing getting me through, even though it's not really that creative. I'm just tired. I want to believe I have a purpose, but I'm coming up on my mid 30s and I'm still floundering." Um, was Ripley talking to us?
Yeah, it punched me right in the gut.
Literally.
I was like, "Excuse me, rude. I'm seeing myself in
Fucking
this, and I
hell.
did not consent to it."
Did not consent, did not appreciate. And the cloud says, "It's okay to not have a purpose. I mean, what's the point of me?" Which is funny and true. Like, their clouds don't have a purpose. Like, we don't expect everything to have a purpose. Why should we have a purpose? And
Yeah, yeah. That's surprisingly deep
yeah,
to think about. Yeah.
yes. And Ripley says, "You mix queer pride cloud. Come on, clouds inherently have a purpose. The water cycle, shade cover, and you have the added bonus of being mysterious and beautiful."
Which, like, water cycle shade cover, that's not their purpose. It's their being. It's
Reason for
just,
existence. Yeah.
well, and it's not their reason for existence. It's like just what, it's not, there's no, it's not a reason. It's just, it just is.
Yeah, it's kind of a byproduct of the world.
It's, I'm existential spiraling right now.
I think we need to bring it back. We're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back to the fact that Ripley called Cirrus beautiful, which turns Cirrus pink.
Yes.
And Ripley goes, "You're pink again. When did that start happening?" And Cirrus goes, "I don't know. I can't see myself," trying to will the color away, which is cute.
And then we get kind of a nice little addition, kind of the whole reason behind Ghostlight Falls being named what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And did you know the background of the Ghostlight?
Yeah.
I didn't until recently. There is a bar in Boston. So the Ghostlight Tavern.
Cute.
It's right across the street from a couple of theaters
Mm-hmm.
in um in downtown Boston.
Love that.
And it's basically like there's always one light left on in the
Mhm.
theater, the ghost light, so that even the ghosts can see where they're going, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
We cut to an undetermined amount of time has passed,
Yes.
and Cirrus is floating outside of Ripley's window,
Mhm.
and they ask, "What? No boombox?" Which, like, that, like, declaration of love with the boombox outside the window is,
Mhm.
like, my 80s child dream.
Uh-huh. Of
My
course.
my hopeless romantic
Uh-huh.
90s kid,
Mhm.
80s baby dream
Mhm.
is to have that, declaration.
Yes.
Cirrus, the energy is a little bit off,
Mhm.
and they say to Ripley, "You've never interviewed me for the podcast before." So, like, how long has this podcast been going on? And they can hear it because Rip Van Winkle plays it real loud for the people at the hospital, but, like,
Mhm.
it's just okay.
Mhm. Yep. Which and also, like, I Ripley says, "I didn't think that you wait a minute, you wanna talk about your history, like, your origin story? Who are you?" And Sirius says, "Interview me and find out." Like, these are terrible best friends.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, like, you although we do get later on that Ripley was a late diagnosed ADHD adult,
Yeah. That
and
yes, which was interesting because, like, we get that kind of explanation of, like, um, I have, what it n like,
issues with
I have no object permanence, and that
yes.
applies to people too, which,
Yeah.
like, I struggle with this personally. I
What?
understand this
Oh,
struggle.
yeah.
Um,
Yes.
and so that is very fascinating. And also we do get we get like an explanation from Ripley's perspective a little later here that it's considered rude in Ghostlight Falls to ask where you're from, to ask what you are, like
Right.
so it is like understandable, I guess, within the confines of this world. But I do feel like if you've basically grown up together, like you would have
Right.
talked about it at some point.
Yes. Yeah. So they are all set up
Yes.
for the podcast interview.
Yes.
And Cirrus is thinking, this is it, the big reveal. I stop hiding. I want Ripley to feel the same way about me as I do them. But for that to feel real and right, they need to really know who I am.
Do we ever really get who and what they are?
Yes, we do. So they were,
They were a byproduct of an experiment at the
yes,
military base. So, what I find interesting, podcasters
yes.
ourselves,
Hmm.
this interview is terrible.
And
Because
we
it's like
by no means
our
claim
experts.
claim to be experts or even claim to be good interviewers.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But
But, like, basically, I feel like this interview, the parts that Ripley can keep in end up being like a single question.
mhm,
And then like Cirrus basically is like, well, I shouldn't describe the military base. Like that could get us in trouble. That could put your safety at risk. And Ripley is like, no worries. I'll cut that part out. Uh, like,
but they don't because they only cut out the part of, like, what it looks like,
yeah,
but they don't cut out the part that they were
a
a BIPOC.
byproduct.
Yeah, so
Yes.
then we get and this I really liked a lot
Hmm.
because we're still in Cirrus's perspective.
Yes.
So we're getting them look at Ripley and feeling that, like, oh my God, I love this person.
Yeah,
And we
it's so
get,
cute.
they're amazing like this, cheerful, almost glowing, not literally like I do, with amusement, cheeks reddened, eyeliner running slightly. They wipe carefully at the tears pulled from laughter as they take a deep breath.
Mhm.
It's like to see someone light up when they're doing something that they love
Yeah,
is wonderful.
it really is.
Um, Especially when it's somebody that you care about. So, like, this was just a very sweet,
Yes. Yeah.
like, seeing inside of that without it being like, and we'll get some of this too, but without some of the more salacious thoughts. It's like just
Yeah.
seeing this person as like, wow, they're incredible. Look at what they're doing. And I loved that. It
Yeah,
was a really
I
nice
do too.
addition.
Very, very sweet. And so Sirius is kind of like having a little internal crisis about like, is Ripley flirting with me? Are they flirting with me or are they not? Like it's it's very cute and we end up kind of focusing on Sirius's story um of being a byproduct of sentience experiments at the military base. So Ripley is kind of surprised that Sirius knows other people who came out of Fort Pines. And Sirius is like, you're not my only friend, you know? Like, and Ripley is like, oh no, I am a shitty friend. Like, have I really thought I was their only friend? If that were true, how mean was it of me to move so far away without a real way to contact them? It's not like I made them a big enough priority when I have come back to Ghostlight Falls. And it's like, it's a good introspective moment.
Yeah.
Like, I've just taken them for granted, so caught up in my own life, except they have more than just me because they're a whole being and not just a random cloud in the sky. They have their own thoughts, hopes, dreams. It's a good moment for Ripley to be like, "Oh, I am not the center of Sirius's world."
Hmm.
And I do think that that kind of kickstarts a little bit of I kind of want to be the
Yeah.
center of Sirius's world. Which is a good moment for a main character in a romance to have.
Yes. Yeah. That, like, oh, but wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's other people around. So I've been taking this person for granted my
Mhm.
whole life,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
realizing that they are an individual with their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. And
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. So that's where their interview ends
Yeah.
because Sarah says, "Is it okay if we don't do any more interview stuff?"
Yeah.
Like, is it
That's
okay
it.
if we're
So
done?
it's just it's like this if you read this, if you said this stuff out loud, is this episode like 5 minutes long?
Maybe,
Maybe.
perhaps.
Maybe.
We just don't know that life because we can't stop talking.
So true. So true. Maybe our podcast would do better if we did short form content. Unfortunately, we are the way we are, so you get
We
our
are
rambles.
incapable. So then we get, did my parents ever give you the postcards? And Sirius is like, you sent me postcards?
Mhm.
And they say every time it rained, typical, honestly, they didn't deliver them. I mean, I imagine they don't look at any piece of mail unless it has a frog on it. That's on me for not realizing. This is very much the like, I wrote you every day for a year.
Yeah,
like,
a little bit.
like,
A
you didn't
little
think I
bit.
was thinking about you, but I was thinking about you this whole time. And
Yes.
that miscommunication of somebody else
Yeah.
being the culprit for why that didn't go through.
Yeah. So their moment kinda ends because it starts to rain, and, Ripley goes to save their equipment, I
Mhm.
suppose. And then we get a jump forward several months later. And this is kind of where everything kind of comes to a ahead, I
Mhm.
suppose. So Ripley has gone to the office of their parents' drive-in because they want to show Cirrus um, fan art,
Yes.
essentially.
Yep.
So the interview with Cirrus blew up and made Ripley's podcast way more popular. And what I find interesting is that there's fan art and fan fiction. And Ripley has printed off and like put in like sheets, like laminated sheets, so that they
Yes.
can show Cirrus, which is so cute because Cirrus can't interact with electronic devices without them
Right.
shorting. So Ripley went to the trouble of printing all of this fan art and fan fiction out, but like didn't stop to consider the implications of the fact that a lot of it is like porn.
So, and also laminated it so that it wouldn't get ruined by the moisture.
Yes.
So they're like, the fans are shipping us.
Yeah.
And Cirrus is like, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
And um
Ripley explains
her
what shipping is, like
yes.
relationship, and Sirius is like, so they want us to be together? How do they know what we look like if they think we're fake? And um Ripley was like, I described you before I had you introduce yourself, remember? And Sirius is like, yeah, but no, they don't remember because they were basically gearing themselves up to admit to Ripley that they were in love with them, but in
Yes.
never got around to it. Um, which is devastating and sad, but it's so funny. But now the whole internet thinks we should be together. Would admitting I agree be any weirder? Is this a good segue?
So then we get like screenshots, and they did screenshots of some of the like real spicy stuff.
Yeah.
Stratus Ripley wines as the QPC, which is queer pride cloud,
Uh-huh.
pounds hard into them, giant cloud dick throbbing.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're like, "Oh, do they think my name is Stratus?"
Yeah.
And Ripley says, "Well, I bleeped out Cirrus. Like, I kind of want to keep that for us
Uh-huh.
because it's special and whatnot." And
Mhm.
this was all a very good lead in, a
Mhm.
very slow burn, but a very good lead in to what's about to come. However, I feel like we get like reader blue balls.
Blue balled, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and like I don't mind this because I love, and we have talked about this
Mm.
specifically in Ghostlight Falls of the interrupted first kiss.
Yes, yeah.
Um, but it's in this case, it's because one of the participants is not on the same page and fears that they are going to get a heart attack
Mhm.
from Cirrus because they are misinterpreting
Yes.
their own feelings as potentially heralding a heart attack at the ripe age of like 33 or whatever it is.
Yes.
The last time we hugged, my heart was pounding and my skin felt electric. You know, people can die from lightning. And Cirrus is like, has your heart ever pounded like that before from me touching you? And they're like, maybe a few times. And Cirrus is like, any other symptoms?
Which is crazy that they can be so dumb about certain things, but completely clock what is going on in
Yeah.
somebody else's body when they don't have a body themselves. It's kind of out there
Yeah.
because this is also something that is not necessarily, I don't know, I guess it's not really explained in movies, which is how they learned a lot.
Yeah.
So, I
Although
don't
we
know.
do get a reference to Amelie, which apparently I've never seen it, but apparently it
I
has
haven't either.
some similar descriptions, I guess. But Ripley was like, sometimes my throat goes dry, or even though you're all dewy, I swear my hands get kind of sweaty. I've started wondering if I'm like perimenopausal or if I've got a thyroid issue.
Mood.
Yeah. And Sirius is like, listen, like you're being an idiot. Like you're having like feelings for me. And I think if I had a heart, it would pound like yours. Or am I wrong? Ripley says, so I'm not having a heart attack? And Sirius goes, no, I don't think so. Want to kiss and find out?
Someone's got to make that first move.
I respect it. I respect the bravery required.
Yes. So they are kind of panicking that
Mm-hmm.
kissing or moving this into any kind of relationship is going to ruin their friendship, which,
Yes.
yeah, like that's a very reasonable thought process to have.
The
So,
other thing that I wish we would have gotten more of up front
mhm,
or like earlier in the story rather than right now, because it feels like we're getting lambasted with all of the reasons why.
good word.
Thank you. With all of the reasons why Ripley, like, it has like a big complex about this, right?
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get like a whole paragraph of when they were in LA, they tried to have sex with people. They're
Mhm.
not a virgin, but they didn't really like it. They didn't they have like this idea of like, well, what if I am just not capable of it? And what if I ruin this friendship by trying something and then once again it's not like what everyone says it should be,
Right.
and I've ruined this. I've ruined this because this is just not something that I am going to be into, that I'm just not built in a way to enjoy sex. I don't know if I'll ever be enough for someone else. And that is a very real, like, complex to kind of like be dealing with
Yeah.
internally, and something that like I like that there's representation about this. I'm like not really knowing if you're asexual or if you're demisexual. Like, is it that I don't like sex at all? Is it that I haven't had sex with the right person? Like,
Yeah.
all of that is very important to kind of like have represented in media and especially in erotica. I think that's a great like inclusion here. But it felt like instead of it being like a core thing that Ripley's been worried about, it was just like, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
Ripley also is worried that they are asexual and that that's going to ruin all of this. We're on page 60 of 90.
Yeah. It's for what is a romance novel, this is it's different from a slow burn in that
Yeah,
it's like almost like the romance was added on as an afterthought rather
almost.
than that sexuality being part of who they
Yeah.
are as
Yeah.
as a person.
And like I want to be clear that it doesn't need to be like a focal point. Like we're allowed to have stories about people struggling with their sexuality where it's not like the entire point of the
Mhm.
story. But I do feel like as a core part of Ripley's identity, like we get it in the synopsis that they're demisexual, but in no we don't even get that word in this story until this page.
Yeah.
D
Yep.
like, Ripley doesn't know that they're demisexual. They don't know if they're demisexual. They don't know if they're asexual, and, like, that if I don't know, I just, like, I expected that to be more part of their identity and a little more upfront.
And then we get that the fan art has to be the only reason that they're already thinking about having sex with Cirrus. They haven't even gotten past that first kiss, which,
True.
like, again, that, like, I tend to put the cart before the horse
Yeah.
frequently with
Uh-huh.
so many aspects of my life where, like, I just want to get to that end result right away.
Uh-huh.
So, like, this one, I was like, oof, ouch.
So Ripley says, I'm just worried about ruining our friendship. And Sirius replies, Ripley, you're a human and I'm a cloud. The odds are already stacked against us. Our friendship has lasted this long. I think we'll figure a way out if we don't work as a couple. And Ripley says, "You're always looking for the silver lining." And Cirrus says, "You make it easy to find," which is so sweet. It's
It's
so
very
cute.
sweet. And Sirius had asked if they could absorb Ripley's tears, which
Mm-hmm.
is very sweet
Mm-hmm.
and tender, and all of this is just lovely.
Yes. And then finally, um, basically Ripley points to their lips, and Cirrus takes a moment to sculpt a shape, a face, a body. They aren't fully formed, but it's close enough that I can at least figure out what to interact with. I appreciate them making it easy on me. I press forward until my lips touch theirs. And sparks fly off of Cirrus, making me think of all those movies where the final kiss cuts to a fireworks display. But it's better than fireworks, more explosive. And like, this is a wonderful scene of like Ripley being like, maybe it's always like this for other people, but I can't help but think I'm reacting this way specifically because of what they are and what we are. Nothing could beat this feeling. So, like, this is like the moment for Ripley where they
Yeah,
realize that they can have this feeling, that they can experience it when they weren't sure before if they could.
right. Which is a really nice addition.
Yeah.
So then they open their eyes and they're like up in the air. And this was almost like that scene in Casper.
Mm
Can I
hmm.
keep
Mm hmm.
you? My sexual awakening, if you will.
Mood.
So so they're like, we're really high up and like, I don't want you to drop me. And
Mhm.
Cirrus is like, well, I've never dropped you or anything before. And they're like, well, that doesn't give me a whole lot of reassurance here.
Yeah. Yes.
So they're honest, which is important, and I liked
Uh-huh.
this too because they say, "Cirrus, I'm a little freaked out." And
Yeah.
immediately, Cirrus is back into the present of like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong?" Basically, like, "You said stop, I'm stopping."
Yep.
That consent was and it just shows that they truly care about each other and their
Yeah.
comfort and all of that, which is just I love to see it
Yes.
in a book.
And we're gonna see it more than once even.
Mhm.
And so Cirrus says, "You know how I'm drawn to moisture." And Ripley's like, "Yeah, that's why my clothes are dry." Because it was raining, but Cirrus absorbed all of the moisture out of Ripley's clothes. And
Cirrus
Cirrus,
did say, "No offense, but I think you kind of like being freaked out."
yes, yes, because it turns out there is still moisture between Ripley's legs.
Yes.
Hmm.
And they say, "Ripley, the sky isn't the only thing past its dew point."
Can I touch between your legs? And Ripley is like, does something brave, which is fighting all of the doubts and being like, yes, like we can try this. Like, I
Mhm.
want to do this. And they are a little surprised because they say, "Serious, we don't play porn at the drive-in. Like, how do you know
Yes.
what to do here?"
And we get a list of movies that all have our, footnote for this says all of these have pretty decently giving/getting head scenes.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they say, "God bless art, films, and raunchy comedies."
Yeah. And so instead of like a typical cunnilingus, I guess, like
Mhm.
because Cirrus doesn't have a mouth, we are instead going to essentially get electroplay here.
Yes. So this was something that I had a question for you
Oh,
because Ripley says, "How can we even touch?" And we get a whole scientific breakdown of this. And I was like,
yes.
Elle's gonna love this.
Yes. This was
So-
fantastic. Because it's true. Because it's
And
true.
I knew
Because
that you would know that that was actually the case. So,
it's fantastic. It's fantastic because, like, this is so creative because
yeah.
truly nothing is ever actually touching. And Sirius is explaining this while using, like, electromagnetic repulsion, uh,
Hmm.
uh, basically, to pleasure their partner. Every atom is repelled by the electrons of the next in varying degrees. So when you feel touch, what you're actually feeling is electromagnetic repulsion. What we think of as touch is actually the way atoms influence each other. They only ever get close enough to form bonds to really touch when the electrons share space. And it's fantastic.
As I read it, and then it says, "Are they really giving me a science lesson in the middle of this?" And I was like, "This tracks." I feel like science in the middle of like intimacy would be right up your alley.
I feel called out.
Listen, I got to be able to give it back
I
sometimes.
was gonna say, what did you say earlier? That was an interesting way to throw me under the bus.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So it's delightful. They end up making Ripley come.
Hmm.
They realize that they're a little high up and decide they need to be a lot safer. So they return to the ground. And Ripley says, "Don't go." And Sirius says, "No, no, I would never." And Ripley starts crying
Yeah.
afterwards,
Hmm.
which this I found also attacked me a little bit. Um, because Cirrus doesn't ask any questions. They
Hmm.
just run their cloudy fingers through Ripley's hair, let
Yep.
Ripley get it all out. And then Ripley says, "Thank you for not making me talk about it. The last time I tried to have sex with someone and cried, I ended up having to soothe them because they felt so bad about it. It was nice just to let out my feelings without having to explain them or look after someone else." And like, this is hard because Cirrus then is using logic and says, "If I did something wrong, you wouldn't have held me so tight." And Ripley says, "Exactly." But like, it's a little bit of reading someone's mind, which is difficult to it's not necessarily fair to expect from someone. But I loved that they know each other well enough
Yeah. It's a
that
testament to their relationship.
exactly. Yes. Like it wouldn't have worked with like strangers, with like a first time with someone you didn't know very well.
Right.
And eventually Ripley can explain it's just an emotional roller coaster, worrying about our friendship, about safety, if I've messed anything up by not realizing all this sooner. Ripley continues, "You probably never had to deal with this because you're a cloud, but I felt like there was something wrong with me my whole life because I'm not sexually attracted to others in the same way people usually are." And Cirrus realizes that they feel a little bit jealous because Ripley admits that there were people in LA that like they felt like they should be attracted to.
Hmm.
But they say, "The only one who's ever made me feel anything like that is you. I don't know. I had it in my head that I had to mess around and try to be normal, but I'm glad that didn't last long." And like, eh, you gotta find your person. I love that. I love that so much. It's so
Yeah.
sweet. But then like this last chapter is just so chaotic. And there's so much happening. And none of it makes any sense. And I
Mm-mm.
don't understand why all of this is here.
Yeah.
Why we have a whole ass like section about Pearl Monroe and
Yep.
the movie is called Reefer Madness. But apparently Pearl Monroe is here and
Yeah.
is also in the movie, but Ripley's going to get to interview Pearl Monroe for the podcast. But that's after the showing of Reefer Madness, which is the movie that Pearl Monroe is in. And
Which is a
then
real movie.
I assumed, because this is the one that's like weird anti-marijuana film.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of the movie, a real life helicopter shines a light straight down on top of me and Cirrus, making this a strangely immersive moment because in the movie, the cops have shown up. There's like a loudspeaker that shouts, Ripley Van Winkle, you are charged with unauthorized storage of government property.
Which doesn't make sense because they are not storing Cirrus
No. What do you
anywhere.
mean? What do you mean? And so they basically hold on to Cirrus. Whatever bond we have, I grab onto something because the helicopter blades are like churning up the air, which would be terrifying. Like, I don't know what would happen if Cirrus got pulled into the helicopter blades. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, you've flown through clouds.
I know, but like, would they reconstitute? Like, I know. Would that kill
Probably.
them?
I don't think so.
So the people in the drive-in are like, absolutely the fuck not. So all of them together start throwing candy boxes and popcorn and soda and
bubble gum?
I don't know why bubblegum is a weapon here, but sure. And then Pearl Monroe shows up and throws more bubblegum and it lands right in the center of like essentially the vacuum that's trying to suck up Cirrus.
Yeah.
And the military is like unauthorized experiment waste byproduct. You need to come with us. And like, there's just like the community is just like, no, absolutely not. You cannot take Cirrus. Cirrus is a member of our community. Ripley is like, this is my family. And then the helicopter fires some sort of beam, but instead of hitting Ripley and Cirrus, it hits the Spadefoot statue
and melts part of it.
And Ripley says, do you know what you just did? Do you know what runs this town? And here comes the frog cult. Like,
the frog cult and all of the frogs.
Orgy is coming in. The riveting echoes in our bones. They hop closer and closer, each local easily stepping out of the way and giving proper respect until the Spadefoots begin to pile up near the projector stand.
This like turned into a horror scene. This is like, it's like the Carrie scene where like instead of blood all over the place, it's frogs. So then Ripley says, like, which one of you is a listener of the podcast?
Which is so weird. Yes.
And someone raises their hand, like, sheepishly, and they're like, you're not a real fan. A real fan wouldn't have snitched, essentially.
Yeah. What do you mean? And so then Cirrus, like, basically becomes a swirling swarm of toads.
Yep.
And then grabs the helicopter and tells all of the military guys in the helicopter, this is your last chance to get out. And all the military goons like jump out of the like helicopter. And then Cirrus holds up the helicopter and swings it around and then throws it way over towards Fort Pines, like out of Ghostlight Falls. And the helicopter explodes.
I mean,
sure.
Things with a bang.
This is not the bang that I wanted.
I would prefer the other kind of bang.
Yes, I agree. And so then they have like a weird argument with the military guys who are following orders and just want a paycheck. And then they say they're just following orders, but then finally they agree that they're not going to come back for Cirrus, which I don't know where they got the authority if they didn't have it before. Now they have the authority to say, like, I guess we'll leave them alone. But sure. And then as they retreat, the whole crowd whoops in satisfaction and then start chanting, kiss, kiss, kiss. And so then they kiss, Ripley giggles, and they pull away from Cirrus to point out to the screen and shout out to everyone. That's all, folks. And
And
that's where we end.
that is the end. What do you rate this one?
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm landing on a 2.
Okay.
I think the romance is very sweet. Ghostlight Falls continues to be interesting and like a fun setting for a story like this. I think so much of the writing was so creative and the details were so descriptive and such a good like immersion of like what it would feel like to hug a cloud that's sentient. I feel like so much of this worked. I just really wanted more of the actual romance.
Yeah.
I wanted so much more of the actual romance and so much less of like the town. Like, yes, I'm glad we got some good characters. I feel like we got way too many of them and they really crowded out the best parts of this story.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think this one's a 1 for me.
Yeah.
I It was too confusing. I
Hmm.
had a hard time because there were so many extra characters, because there was so much extra, like the frog thing really
Hmm.
threw me out of it.
Yep.
If I'm being honest, the footnotes kind of also took me out of the story. I think that there are plenty of fans that would read this and pick up on every single one of these
Yes.
references
Yep.
without the footnotes. So instead, I cannot see the footnote number and not click on it. So then
Yeah.
it took me out of it every single time, and there were quite a few of them
There
for
were.
a 100-page book. Um, it was a very sweet love story.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the sweet love stories are not really what we're here for.
That's true.
And I
That's
think
true.
that that is part of my issue. Like, we are what in the smut? Like, we want to there wasn't enough of that for me. I
Yeah.
think that if there was more or if even one more scene, I feel like would have
Yeah.
bumped it up a little bit for me.
I agree. I
And, like,
agree.
don't get me wrong, I love a slow burn,
Yes.
but in terms of, like, what we look for here, it really just didn't hit for me. And I don't know, I hate that too,
Yeah.
because I think that Latrexa Nova does have a lot of skill. A
Yes.
lot of the prose is really beautiful and it can make you feel a lot of what they're trying to get across, but this one was
Yeah.
a little bit too, and I question if it's like almost because this is kind of that like potluck kind of situation here. I wonder if it's because it wasn't necessarily a story that they came up with on their own. Like, they
Mm.
did, yes, but so many other aspects are being pulled from what this
Mhm.
other group of authors has come up with, you know?
Mhm.
I think that that might have
Yeah.
something to do with it too.
Maybe. Yeah. There are pieces that they had to incorporate that aren't necessarily something they would have chosen to put in otherwise.
Yeah, agreed.
Mhm. Well, I know one of our characters is a literal cloud, but
Yeah.
how did you go about casting this one?
So for Ripley, I went with Bella Ramsey,
Very nice choice.
who was in Game of Thrones and also The
The
Last of
Last of
Us, which
Us.
is
Yep.
where they became most popular. Um, their friendship with Pedro Pascal is adorable,
So
and
cute.
I love
Love
it
it
so
so much.
much.
Yep.
So that was my Ripley cast.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think they're a little too young. How old are they? Oh, interesting. This is
What?
actually, it becomes so in checking to make sure that their age was appropriate because they do have a very young face.
Yes.
It's interesting that Bella Ramsey has been very open with their autism diagnosis,
Oh.
which I feel like there definitely were some neurodiversity aspects in this book, big
Yep.
time, with both characters.
Oh, agreed.
So that's an interesting kind of happy accident there that I didn't realize.
Love that.
And for Cirrus,
Mm-hmm.
this is someone that I had never heard of before.
Yeah.
I went with Mason Alexander Park, who I saw the picture,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, there you go.
This
There,
person is a cloud. I agree.
yes. Like, okay, could definitely play a cloud. It's, let's see. So Mason Alexander Park is a non-binary film, TV, and stage actor, best known for playing Hedwig on the first Broadway national tour of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which
Oh.
I had not ever heard
Amazing.
of.
Love
But
that.
they are in a couple of Netflix shows or movies as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so, but the picture that I had seen, I was like, oh yes, there is my cloud cast,
For
because
sure.
their hair is like blonde and just, I don't know, almost
Very
ethereal.
ethereal.
Yes, ethereal, very much so.
Yeah.
So, yes,
I love
Mason
it. These are
Alexander
great
Park
picks.
is my cast for that one.
Fantastic. So we are continuing on our bullshit, I think.
Yes.
What are we reading next week?
So next week, we are reading Betting the Betting by Anara Lane.
Perfect.
This one, I don't even remember how I found this one, but very much bringing us back to our roots here.
Oh, yeah.
So I am excited to see what that is all about.
Yeah.
Have you been reading anything else in the past week?
I have. I finally finished The Dragon Wakes with Thunder, which is the second book in the duology. The first one is The Night Ends with Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good. I think I liked the first one more.
Okay.
I think the author was trying to do maybe a little too much in the second one. It might have needed to be 2 books. If you pressed me about it, I think I would say that there were like 2 distinct kind of like storylines that we could have had more of. But I loved the world. I loved kind of like the creativity of it. I loved the Chinese mythology. Like, I really, really enjoyed that whole story, and I do recommend it. How about you?
I started reading Trad Wife
Oh,
that I had
yeah.
mentioned last week. I'm about halfway through. It definitely has some creepy vibes,
Uh-huh.
but it's not scary enough yet. I mean, it could still get there. It's not scary enough yet that I've had any kind of, um, like
Mhm.
I can read it at night. It's not like,
Sure. Yeah.
it's not living in my freezer just yet,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So far it is pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll have that finished up by, if not next week, then the week
The
after.
week after. Yeah.
Well, if you've made it this far, we appreciate you as always. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, tell your friends, leave a comment. We have links for all of our socials as well as for our merch in our show notes. And with that,
We're at our wits' end.
we'll see you next time.